FAIRtax is coming, don't stand in the way. FAIRtax is coming across the USA. FAIRtax is coming, clean up this mess. We got to get rid of the IRS. Hey, hey! Hey, hey!
Hello, welcome once again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
And we are the FAIRtax Guys. And if you missed the last episode of FAIRtax Power Radio, you really need to go back and check that out. We are trying our best to convince folks that the tax code as it currently exists is a rotten, dirty, nasty, corrupt system. We need to get rid of it. And Ron, you did so much research on this that we've got plenty of stuff left over from last episode. We're going to continue with what we were doing last time. But there was one other thing. Again, in case you missed last episode, there was one thing that you really need to know, how the tax code can jump up and bite you bad.
The one that really comes to mind is it was headlined, "Back to School Season Means Catch-Up Time for Nannies." Families who have to hire a babysitter or a nanny over the summer because both mom and dad work. Okay, that's pretty common these days. It's hard to make ends meet, so both mom and dad have to work, and somebody's got to take care of the kids. Well, the article warned that if you paid the babysitter or nanny $2,000 or more, the IRS considers you an employer. And you are now their employer.
That is a really easy threshold to meet. We did crunch the numbers there. If you take a 13-week summer season, 3 months, it's a little over $150 a week. And who's going to work for that? You got to pay your nanny a lot more than that. So you'll hit that $2,000 really quick. Most likely,
absolutely. So if you're the employer, well, what do employers have to do? Withholding. They have to do withholding, especially Social Security and Medicare, the FICA tax. And so not only do you have to withhold theirs, but you have to withhold your share of it. And so this article is warning people about just that this might, you put down the expense because you're both working of hiring a babysitter for the summer. And the IRS comes back and says, "Oh, we see you paid this person $3,000. Where's the withholding?" And you say, "Huh?" And then you're in for a world of hurt.
Oh man! So that needs to go away really bad.
Yeah. So, like Bob said, we're giving you a lot of reasons to want to get rid of the current income tax system. This is a graphic that I found on, I believe it was on Facebook here. Government waste fun fact.
Government actually wastes stuff? Are you kidding?
Specifically the IRS. Now, remember, the IRS is responsible for like 140 million tax returns between corporations and individuals. 140 million. That's a big number, all right? If you don't think so, go ahead and count to 1 million and come back when you're done. No, not really. The Internal Revenue Service sent 23,994 tax refunds worth a combined value of $46,378,040 to unauthorized alien workers who all used a single address in Atlanta, Georgia.
Wait a minute. How many refunds to a single address?
Just under 24,000. 24,000 to the same address.
Don't you think that should ring a bell and raise a red flag to somebody?
How do they not program their computers to pick up something like this?
Wow.
If you send in a return and you've got a deduction for some charities that you gave to that's over a certain threshold, their computers pick that up and flag you for an audit. If you're trying to play fast and loose with the tax code, they pick that up. How can they not pick this up? It's just mind-boggling.
Man, that's a hole big enough to drive the Titanic through.
Unbelievable. So, and this was from the Treasury Inspector General for the Tax Administration, TIGTA. We hear from this guy a lot, or this agency a lot, but I haven't really seen too much in the way of change in the current tax code. Have you, Bob?
Yeah. Why do we, the people, put up with this?
Yeah, that's a good question. And you could probably write a whole book on that, but we shouldn't. We deserve better than this. Okay, here's one. IRS loses track of laptops containing taxpayer data. This is posted by Americans for Tax Reform in September of 2016. The IRS is putting sensitive taxpayer data at risk by failing to ensure laptop computers issued to contractors are properly returned, according to the Treasury Inspector General for the Tax Administration. Hey, we just talked about him or them.
Mercy.
Okay, so contractors. My wife was, what do you mean contractors? They got 90,000 employees at the IRS. Well, my guess is that, when from January 1st until after April 15th, when there's a flood of tax returns coming in, and their computers might be flagging things like I was just talking about, they need extra help. So they contract, they do get some temp help or something like that. Mm-hmm. And of course, for these people to do their job, they have to have laptops and they have to have access to the data. Okay, no problem with that. But unfortunately, the laptops aren't getting returned. So what's happening to them? More than 7,900 contractor employees stopped working for the IRS in 2014, as many of these contractor employees were in positions in which they were issued laptops which may allow them access to the IRS networks and sensitive taxpayer data.
Wonder how much of that data gets copied and sold. Just thinking.
But after analyzing a sample of 40 computer documentation and records, only 12 of them were properly documented. 12 out of 40. Oh, it gets worse, as they say on TV. But wait, there's more. All right. They figured out in doing a more comprehensive study, about 84% or more than 1,000 computers are due to be returned by contract employees. Why aren't they being returned?
I can't imagine. It's very simple to attach a barcode to those things.
Yeah.
And scan them in and out. So if they don't come back, you know it's not here. You know who it was last issued to. Why don't they do that?
And my guess that, Bob, you're the computer guy. Couldn't they put something on these laptops that if they're not returned, you can send a signal and they're wiped clean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So they should be doing that. It's bad enough that they keep the laptop at our expense, but the data is much more important than the laptop itself. Physical security controls designed to protect sensitive IT housed in restricted areas were not properly implemented. The agency continued to use unsupported software to manage taxpayer data and personal information. It was not encrypted. And then it's got an anthology here. 2010. TIGTA found that the agency had inadequate safeguards to protect taxpayer information from contract workers. 2011 found that the taxpayer data was vulnerable to hackers and stronger security measures were needed. 2013, a report found that the IRS failed to fully implement 8 recommendations that would increase security over taxpayer data, despite telling the TIGTA that they had been implemented. So the IRS lied to the Inspector General. And the last one here in 2014.
This is the system that you all allow to continue to exist.
This is unbelievable. My blood pressure is starting to rise as I'm reading this again.
I'm going to have to get you a pill here in a minute.
In 2014, TIGTA warned that if stronger protections are not implemented, taxpayers could be exposed to loss of privacy and to financial loss and damages resulting from identity theft or other crimes. And we read that one in the last episode about the lady who found out that her 3-year-old daughter, the Social Security number for her 3-year-old daughter had been absconded and was on the hook for 2 credit cards and 2 auto loans. 3-year-old daughter.
Wow. Yeah. Go get the dog in a minute.
And this, yeah. And this is all completely unnecessary. like we said in the last episode, has anybody ever heard of a sales tax being hacked?
No.
I mean, has anybody, if anybody has been contacted by their state sales tax agency saying you didn't pay your sales tax on that pair of jeans or whatever, or that car you bought, let us know, because I just am not aware of anything like that. Because the sales tax, one, it's automatic. It's so simple, it's automatic. Two, it's anonymous. Nobody, you go to the store and you buy something, nobody cares who pays the sales tax.
So if the sales tax is for some reason not paid, they don't come after the individuals, they come after the store that was supposed to collect it and report it.
Yeah.
There is no personally identifiable information anywhere in a sales tax transaction. So you, the individual taxpayer, you pay at the register, you've done your duty. If there's a problem, it's farther down the line, and they will not and cannot come after you if we have the right system.
Yeah, if we had the right system. That's a big if. We really need to do that. And that's what Bob and I have been talking about all this time. We need to get off of this crazy income tax system and go to the fair tax. Okay, let's see. Court rebukes, this is from Freedom News from March of 2016. Court rebukes IRS over targeting of Tea Party groups. And we thought this was all over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Ms. Lerner is retired now, getting her benefits from working at the IRS so long. Americans who were insulted, angered, and left waiting for justice after learning that the weaponized IRS had improperly targeted Tea Party groups for extra scrutiny leading up to the 2012 elections will be happy to know that a federal appeals court has done you a service. Remember, this is last March. As reported by the Washington Times, the court heavily criticized the agency, saying it took the laws that were designed to protect taxpayers from government abuse and turned them on their head in an attempt to protect itself from the very same Tea Party groups that it targeted. And that's a good way of putting it. I don't think I've heard it stated like that before, but that's exactly what they did. They took the laws designed to protect us, and they turned it on its head, and they went after people in the Tea Party, asking them all kinds of things like, what books do you read? What do you do at your meetings? What are your membership lists? Stuff like that. That is absolutely nobody else's business.
All right. Let's kind of make this fair and balanced here, Ron, because there are a lot of people, unfortunately, political ideologues that think that going after the Tea Party is a good thing because, they disagree with them and what have you. But understand that this has happened before in the other direction. That's a weaponized IRS has been used by a Republican administration against its political, adversaries. And the fact that it's going after a group that you don't like today is no guarantee that they won't come after the group that you do like later. The whole system stinks. That's what has to go away.
Yeah, that's right. Bob is absolutely right. If this agency can be weaponized by one administration, it can be weaponized by another
they go
administration.
after the Tea Party here. The next administration will go after MoveOn.org and people like that if we allow the system to continue.
Yeah.
So regardless of which side of the political fence you're on, and we're not here to defend or push any political ideology, because the fair tax is really good for everybody, but the system that allows the abuse of one group can and does allow the abuse of a different group, and just because they're going after your enemies today doesn't mean they're not coming after you tomorrow. It has to change.
And if you don't believe that the fair tax is good for anybody, regardless of whether you're a Republican or Democrat, go back and listen to our interview with Autry Pruitt. All right?
Oh, yeah.
He spelled it out really well.
He's a cool dude.
Yep. Okay. So,
okay.
Anyways,
continue into your pile of stuff here.
There's one last part with this one. The court also accused the Justice Department lawyers representing the IRS of acting in bad faith, which compounded the initial targeting by fighting with the disclosure list. I mean, so the Justice Department is getting involved in it too. It's not good.
Again, the point is the IRS should not be a weapon against anybody that either political side can use. The IRS actually needs to go away. Because I think as long as it continues to exist, the temptation is going to be there to weaponize it against your political opponents, regardless of who's in power. So if you believe in freedom, if you believe in what's right, if you believe in the rule of law, you cannot believe in the IRS. It is, I've heard it called a criminal enterprise, and I don't think that's too far from the truth.
Yeah. And go back 240 years to the founding of the country and the Constitution. The founding fathers expressly prohibited an income tax in the Constitution. And that was good for over 120 years, but no, we had to change it 103 years ago. Big mistake.
Huge mistake.
And we've been paying for it ever since. And it gets worse. It seems like we're paying for it more every year. Okay.
Right. What else you got there?
Let's see. A tax loophole for U.S. companies operating overseas gets tighter. All right. This is from the Washington Post in September of 2016. Now, some of this is going to sound a little confusing, but the Treasury Department sought Thursday to limit the benefits that U.S. companies can claim when they pay taxes overseas. So you've got companies that operate overseas. We have a number of multinational corporations. Some of their branches are housed overseas, and they produce products for customers overseas. And technically, they're U.S. companies, and they're supposed to bring their taxes back here and bring their profits back here and pay taxes on them. But I guess they get a deduction if they're also charged taxes by the country in which they reside. The Treasury issued a rule last year to prevent companies from enjoying a foreign tax credit when the related profits remain offshore. But businesses circumvented it by shifting money within their foreign subsidies. And Thursday's guidance aimed to end that practice. So, you make a tax code change that's going to somehow affect companies and increase their tax burden and decrease their profits. If there's a way around it legally, they're going to find it. That's why they hire all these CPAs and tax attorneys. Well, the IRS is not happy with that, and Congress is not happy with that. Even though, they're doing nothing illegal.
They wrote the law under which this is happening.
Yeah, and the more complicated it gets, it seems like the more easily it's avoided. The department said it hoped that the new notice would reduce corporate America's incentive to take advantage of our broken international tax system. Washington is worried that mounting international tax obligations will eat away at what's left for Uncle Sam. So, there's one thing that's lost here is
that wasn't so sad it would be laughable.
Companies do have to make a profit in order to stay in business. If companies can't make a profit, they go out of business and everybody loses their job. All right? But you've got the European Union and you've got Uncle Sam and so forth, and they all want what they consider their fair share, which, it's questionable whether it's fair. And they're all pulling at these companies, and the companies are doing their best to stay alive. So, again, it's...
And the tax code is doing its best to, A, drain them dry, and B, drive them offshore.
Yeah.
Which it has been doing fairly successfully. I mean, corporate inversions and outsourcing of jobs has been a problem for decades here now. And nobody seems to understand that the reason that's happening is because, in large part, they are being driven to do that by the tax code. We have got the highest, most punishing corporate tax rate on the planet, the United States does. And we need to get rid of that. We need to get rid of all of the income taxes, replace them with a fair tax, make us the most business-friendly place on the planet. Then you talk about businesses and jobs coming flooding to these shores. That'll do it, son.
Yeah. No, Bob is absolutely right. And it's not just the tax rate. Yeah, we have the highest corporate tax rate in the world. But the compliance costs are way up there, too. For smaller companies, mom and pop companies that don't have to worry about going overseas, there's no way they can do that. Sometimes their compliance costs are up to 7 times more than the actual tax itself. So the compliance cost, due to the complexity, is also killing business. And when you kill business, you kill jobs.
That's not. I would like to know. We've mentioned this several times. The year that General Electric, a multi-billion-dollar international corporation, paid no taxes. I wonder how much it cost them to get that return prepared.
That would be an interesting study, but that would require them to spend more money to figure that out. I did hear at one time that their tax return was 53,000 pages. I heard that or read that somewhere.
Now think about it. A ream of paper is only 500. So, divide that and figure out how many reams of paper that thing is. And I would hate to have to be the bureaucrat that goes through and reads all that stuff.
Oh, boy. So the last one I just have a series of headlines. This is in August 25th of 16. IRS faces likely impeachment vote in the U.S. House. Then in September 7th of 16, House will hold a vote on whether to impeach the IRS commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Thomas Jefferson said, impeaching a bureaucrat is hardly a revolution, is it?
And then in August, the following week, September 15th of 2016, House Republicans reach a deal to avoid vote on impeaching the commissioner.
Oh, well.
So why does...
Politics as usual.
Yeah, I mean, why does all this politics get involved? Why do we have a tax code that allows politics to get involved here? It gets so complicated. And, you know, I think the approval record for Congress is at all-time low. And stuff like this doesn't help.
I think it's in single digits.
Yeah, I believe so. It's very bad. And there's a way around it. Congress could be our heroes if they got serious about the fair tax. So
yes, we've talked a lot about the problem, and we could go on forever. Let's hit on the solution a little bit here before we have to leave.
Yeah, the fair tax, what Bob and I have been talking about all these months, completely replaces the income tax. The income tax goes away, all right?
Yeah,
which means there will be no need for the IRS. The IRS will be given several years to finish up what they're doing now, and then it will be disbanded.
Which means withholding goes away. You bring home the full gross amount of your paycheck.
Yeah. Now, who wouldn't like to bring... Or if you're retired like us, you get your whole retirement distribution.
Oh, yeah. Social Security is subject to withholding.
But Social Security and Medicare are protected, aren't they, Bob?
Absolutely. In fact, the base that supports them expands greatly. Currently, the only people supporting Social Security and Medicare are people who are working for a paycheck.
Yeah.
People that are getting investment income, people that are doing stuff that's not working for a paycheck and still making a lot of money doing it, they're not supporting Social Security or Medicare a dime. Fair tax expands the tax base that will support Social Security and Medicare to everyone whose spending rises against above the poverty level for their household size. Everybody will support Social Security and Medicare in the future if the fair tax is law.
That's right. That's right. So it better protects Social Security and Medicare than what we have now because, as Bob said, it spreads out the base. The fair tax is a consumption tax or a sales tax. This is the type of thing that the Founding Fathers approved of. They had, at the time...
Whoa, lightning strike outside.
Yes, well, apparently they like the fair tax up there, too.
The gods are angry at the IRS. Oh, if only.
The fair tax is a consumption tax. Just like excise taxes, imposts, and duties, those were consumption tax. But 240 years ago, there was no way to collect a sales tax collected that was assessed on the final consumer. There was no computers. And how would you keep track of such a thing? It would be a monumental task. Now, it's not a big deal. It's done very easily by computers. It's done automatically. It's done anonymously. So, in fact, I heard a guy on another radio station this morning say, well, duties and imposts and excises are okay, but the fair tax is not legal. No, wrong. The fair tax is a consumption tax, just like duties, imposts, and excises. The same type of thing. It's a consumption tax. It's perfectly constitutional.
Well, like 45 states have a state sales tax.
That's right. And you don't hear from those 45 states about all the fraud going on. I mean, you just don't hear it.
No fraud, no abuse, no personal information collected to deal with the whole system. It's elegant in its simplicity and how well it works.
Now, Bob and I live in Florida, and we have a sales tax here we do not have an income tax, and it works very nicely. There's no state income tax agency. You don't have to file an income tax report. There are several states like that.
You do not get state withholding from your paycheck.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I did when I lived in North Carolina.
And up in New York, too. They did the same thing. So those of you that live in a state that has a sales tax but not an income tax, you have an idea of how the fair tax will work. That's what we're working on for the whole country. All right? Get rid of the income tax, have a national sales tax. It'll be 23%. Yeah, that sounds like a lot. But when you realize that the embedded taxes are,
ooh, look out. They don't like
right up
taxes either. Yeah, but a 23% sales tax, nobody bats an eye at a 23% income tax. In fact, the highest tax rate is a lot higher than that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's huge.
But people, though, are afraid when they think sales tax. They think that the tax is added on to the price, that a 23% tax would turn a $100 item into a $123 item when you take it to the cash register. Not so. The fair tax is inclusive. We're going to hit on that a little bit more in our next couple of episodes of FTPR.
And we did an episode on relative purchasing power because the numbers are out there. Everybody will have more purchasing power under the fair tax. Yeah, prices might go up somewhat, and they might go up more for one industry or another. It'll be controlled by market forces. It will not be controlled by the government. But you'll also have more disposable cash because you're going to get the prebate. You're going to get all of your paycheck. You're not going to be taxed on the interest of any savings or with interest. No interest will be taxed, so your savings and investment won't be taxed. Everybody's going to have more disposable income. So get rid of the income tax, replace it with a fair tax, which is a sales tax. The prebate is the mechanism that makes sure that nobody pays taxes up to the poverty level. The Federal Department of Health and Human Services sets poverty level figures every year. I believe for 2016, mom and dad and 2 kids, a typical family of 4, it's just over $32,000. So you will actually be reimbursed for the fair tax you spend up to the poverty level. Now, if you make more than that and you spend more than that, well, fine, that's your business. If you make more than that and you put it in savings, good, because you want to buy a house or something, that's great. Your savings, the interest on your savings won't be taxed. You'll be able to save up faster. So the fair tax is the answer here.
Okay, we got about 2 minutes left. How do we make this happen?
Okay, we need people to go to fairtax.org if you want to learn more. There's a lot of good information. Fairtax.org. Also, if you want to get involved, and we humbly beseech you to get involved here, bigsolution.org. Bigsolution.org is where you can get involved. You can connect. You can support us by signing the petition. You can contribute, and we truly do need your contributions. There's just no way around this. We can't do it without your contributions. Once the national organization, the Americans for Fair Taxation, is on a good, sound financial basis, there are deep pocket donors out there who are interested in the fair tax, and they're going to make some contributions, some substantial contributions, but they want to see that our organization can stand on its own 2 feet. So we need your contributions.
Steve Hayes said the exact same thing. That's exactly what's going on. Now, you did not mention the webinar last time. You are going to get shot. Your wife is in charge of that thing, so you better do it this time. Okay,
the 4th Thursday of every month is the webinar. If you're getting Fair Tax Friday, if you're not getting Fair Tax Friday, sign up for it at either fairtax.org or bigsolution.org, and there'll be a link to the webinar. Or you can go to fairtax.org/webinar. Fairtax.org/webinar. It is a 1-hour webinar once a month, generally the 4th Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And you sign up for it by going to fairtax.org/webinar. They will give you a brief description of the fair tax, and then they'll go in, and then the questions. It's interactive. You can type in your questions, and Larry will go over the questions, and you'll get responses. So,
all right. And if you want to talk to us, the FAIRtax Guys at gmail.com or our Facebook page on facebook.com/the FAIRtax Guys. Until next time, I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
Reminding you the fair tax is America's big solution, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
Fair tax is coming. Don't send it